Sometimes making the right real estate investment can feel like a showdown in the wild, wild west. Well, saddle up, partner, and ride along with attorney and real estate broker Marshall Biddle as he shares his expert advice and insight on real estate, the law, and more. Welcome to Real Marshall Law.
Hello, top of the day. It is time for another edition of Real Marshall Law, where we talk real estate and legal issues and sometimes things happening in the news. Hello there, Marshall Biddle.
Hey, Jack.
Marshall's,
Morning.
Yeah, local attorney and also a real estate broker here.
That's correct.
In Ole County, the independent Republic of Ole. How was your week?
Good. Glad it's Sunday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Glad to see, glad to see the sun come up on a Sunday morning.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's an action-packed day. A little time for some radio. We'll squeeze in some Jesus here before lunch today.
No question.
Yes, sir.
I'm always tuned in.
I'm probably going to get some calls on that one. Oh, you're just squeezing in a little Jesus on Sunday, are you? Not just Sunday. Not just Sunday. I pray a lot when I go to the grocery store. I've heard some people say that inflation is not as bad as we make it out to be.
I don't know. I'm with you. I cringe when I get up to the counter. Not that I'm worried about how much it's going to be, but it's considerably more than it used to be.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm getting less. I'm paying more because I look at the ounces.
Yes.
In a box of snacks. And,
right.
Yeah, some settling occurred.
For sure.
Definitely. There's nothing but air in this bag of potato chips.
Yeah, I remember those days. You pop that thing open, and it was about a fourth of the way down at the bottom, and you're thinking, man, what happened to whole – we only sell it by net weight.
Yeah. And it says it right there on the bag. Some settling may have occurred. Well, it occurred.
And then you're settling for less chips.
And it's just not good.
Nope.
And now the refrigerated area of the supermarket has stuff that is some kind of frozen dairy treat. It's not ice cream anymore. Have you looked closely?
I have not.
It's hoodwinked me twice. It's still good, but
yeah,
I like the fat content in ice cream. I want it fat.
Tofu on a stick?
Nah. I love that. I love real ice cream.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we didn't come here to talk about that. We're going to actually break away this week from the home side, the residential side of real estate,
right,
and talk about the commercial side. And that's something that I might be a little bit weird. I'm interested in.
Sure.
I think we've done a disservice in some of these cities with everyone working at home. I hope this is a fad.
Everything that I see out there, that all of the professionals, if you will, and the authorities on that they're really saying that it's not this hybrid work from home, work at home and work in the office. They think it's here to stay. It's going to be here going forward. And of course that affects everything, because if I'm a big company and I no longer need that much space, then I'm going to want to change my lease, or when my lease comes back, I'm going to get less space, and that's just a trickle-down effect. It's going to affect everybody.
Sure.
I
have a studio at home, but we're not at the studio at home.
No.
I like you. I don't want you in my house on Sunday morning.
Right.
There's a lot going on in the house right now.
Sure. Well, everybody says it's easy like Sunday morning. Most of my Sunday mornings have not been easy. You're battling with the children and the wife and trying to get out and get to church on time, and
I stopped caring about that.
Buckle your seatbelt,
and life became a lot easier.
Yeah.
It used to really eat me up. I live a mile from the church, and I'm the last one there. I got folks driving in from Murrells Inlet who beat us to church.
Well,
but I let it go.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, I don't want to get all worked up into a tizzy.
Yeah, well, it doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't do you any good, the wife any good, the children any good. I'll tell you, next month I'll be 55. And
child.
Yeah, I know, right? But I have learned that sometimes you just got to let it go. Like you said, now there's still things that get my goat.
Sure.
And I have to go chase them down, put them in the back of the truck, bring them back to the house. But at the end of the day, they still get my goat.
There's a lot of moving parts at my house.
Yeah.
And while I love coming home, I also like leaving it. And I'm not one that can work from home.
Right.
I mean, I could, but I can't.
Yeah.
I'm a 20th century man.
Sure.
All the men in my family got up before the sun came up, and they went and did something.
Right.
And so I guess if Dad wasn't there when you were growing up, or he's sitting over there in his pajamas, you know,
Yeah.
it's a different vibe. I'm old school.
Well, I mean, I can work from home as long as nobody's there, you know. Again, I mean, I pretty much can, you know, I take a laptop home with me every day. Something
Right.
comes up, I got to do something. I drag it out. You know, I got a printer there if I need to. Again, it's in a closet. I have to drag it out, plug it in, and print some stuff out, and then scan it and fax it. And, you know, I mean, I do that. Thank goodness for print to PDF. You know, and now we can electronically sign everything that we file with the court. So we just, you know, do it that way, or we send another lawyer permission to use my electronic signature. You know, they send us the documents, we look at it, say, yep, you got permission to use my electronic signature, I'm okay with it. Makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does. And this impacts big cities in blue states.
Yeah.
I think more so. I mean, it impacts big cities in general.
Yep.
But the New Yorks, why don't they just move the stock exchange to Texas? I mean, why not?
Man, I you know, I
Why
might
don't they
move to
move
Texas.
Why?
I might move to Texas if they moved Wall Street there.
I used to say Austin, but
Yep.
we've almost lost that city
Right,
now.
it's purple for sure.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy. All the Silicon Valley folks came there and they brought their politics with them. But when these offices are empty and people are working from home, there's no one to go downstairs and buy the hot dog from the hot dog vendor. The shoe shine guy that's
Yep.
you know, provided a good way of provided a good life for his children, shining shoes.
Sure.
That can still happen in America. That's going away. There's a lot of things. The restaurants, the hotels downtown. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when we stop doing business with people, business changes. You got to have people. You got to interact with people. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Why do we not get that?
I don't know. I know it's a change. You know, I'll tell you, in all the government buildings, of course, the government will always have, you know, spot. But down in the basement of those are all run by, in South Carolina, the Commission for the Blind. You know, the little canteens and stuff down there. I don't know if
okay.
you've been in the basement of many government buildings in South Carolina. But
I haven't
there's-
spent a lot of time in any of the office buildings in Columbia, and I hope to keep it that way.
Right. But any of the government, they always
Yeah.
have a commission in blind, so they're down there, you know, selling, getting their stuff, and making it happen. But yeah, you know what? It affects a lot of stuff. So if you pay to rent for parking, and you pay for your building, then you got common area maintenance and the whole 9 yards. And if you don't need that, then you cut down on that. You cut down on your parking because people aren't traveling and the gas is not being spent. Less insurance for the person that's going. There's a lot of incentives not to have to go to work every day, but you're actually just telecommuting. I get it. I understand it. But from a commercial real estate standpoint, it's going to create some problems. I mean, there's going to be some large office space buildings that are going to be crashing in a fiscal sense from, you know, where you can't afford the rents because you don't need them. You don't need
Right.
the people there. So it's going to be interesting. Office space is probably going to be decreasing dramatically because this hybrid, you know, work home I think it's here to stay, and I think most of the experts say it's here to stay.
Well, if it gets out of control, why don't we do the same thing with Congress? Why don't we just have them work from home so they never have to go up there, and they just log in and take care of business? And I mean, things would be a lot different.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
Some of these congressmen were, you know, in the spare bedroom with a webcam.
Yep. Well, you know, it's hard for them to interact with their girlfriends when they're at home with their wives.
See, that's what I'm talking about, variables and stuff.
Right.
I think America's decline due to government overreach started with the invention of the air conditioner. There is no way those guys are going to hang out in that rotunda with no AC up in there.
Right.
But as soon as they got it.
Oh, yeah, they stay there all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Midnight,
Yeah.
you know. Shoot, they'd be there at midnight because it was cooler.
It's cool up in here.
That's right.
Get a Democrat from Louisiana up there, they ain't ever going back home.
Never going
Huh?
home, right?
You think it's hot and humid here in South Carolina? Get
Yeah.
on down there on the bayou.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Lots of
so-
skeeters.
Yeah, a lot of skeeters. The state bird of Louisiana.
Yep.
We got a lot of water down there.
Yes, they do.
A lot of water.
We got our fair share here, you know.
Yeah.
But not like those guys got.
How is commercial real estate doing here in South Carolina in the cities?
I think that, you know, it hadn't made the tumble, but I think it's ultimately coming. Again, office space, I think, you know, retail space is probably going to be okay. But I think that the office space long term is going to take a hit. And again, it's all due to this hybrid work home thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was in Jacksonville, Florida 2 years ago. I didn't recognize the city. I got there on a Friday afternoon and everyone left. And there was nothing going on. I mean, there's these big buildings. It was like Night of the Comet. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Look that one up on Netflix or Amazon Prime.
I'll have to make a note of that
Night
one.
of the Comet. It's great. Comet comes and everybody's turned into zombies, and only a handful of kids that were trying to make out in a movie theater survived.
They're the only ones that run in the country now. You know.
It's crazy. It just breaks my heart for the guys that are in commercial real estate. Now, I think manufacturing in right to work states is going to be something to keep our eyes
Sure.
on.
Yeah, I think manufacturing is going to be okay, especially, you know, when you get to, like you said, a right to work state like South Carolina is, and you know, we've got a lot of industries that have come here. I was reading an article this morning about Boeing, and I didn't realize they've been here over 20 years.
Wow.
And you know, obviously they transitioned when they left Washington State and came here, but you know, I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah, they put an investment. I saw their center there last week when I was touring Trident Technical College.
Okay.
They've got a huge aerospace center on that campus there in North Charleston.
Yep.
And what else? Georgia is picking up, I think, is it Remington? They're closing their last factory up in New
Yes.
York and coming here.
Yep.
I mean, when are these folks going to wake up? I would not want to live in New York.
No, and that's a big change for Remington. They've been there forever.
That's where it started.
Forever, ever.
I don't know if it started there.
No, but forever.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's coming to the South because we're not. Well, we're nicer people. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. We're nicer people.
We let you keep more of your money.
Yeah,
what
this is
a
true.
novel idea.
Right.
How twisted is that? Well, that's it got into politics, and
Yep.
and we ended up talking about corn dogs anyway.
I think for the most part it gets into politics regardless, because anytime you're talking about inflation and, you know, it just works.
Yeah.
You got to go there.
Well, we're going to take a breather and come back, and we'll talk about the residential side of things. Marshall Biddle is not only just a lawyer here in the area, but he's also a real estate broker. Real Marshall Law continues after this.
If you're buying or selling real estate and you need an attorney, contact Marshall Biddle at the Biddle Law Firm. Marshall's been involved in the purchase and sale of real estate for more than 30 years, and his family's been in the real estate development business for more than a century. In addition to being an attorney, Marshall is also a licensed real estate agent here in South Carolina. The Biddle Law Firm is located in historic downtown Conway and online at biddlelawfirm.net.
Giddy up! We're back with more of Real Marshall Law.
Hey, we're back, Kemosabe. Just throwing some Wild West references in there.
Right?
You ought to come in here with a vest and like a little badge, a sheriff's badge. I've got some.
Yeah, Marshall badge.
Yeah.
Yeah, missing an L, but that's all right,
That's fine.
right?
It could work.
For sure.
I mean, surely someone misspelled the Marshall sign.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
well I
old
have my
days.
vest. It's hanging right there.
Oh, okay,
You
right.
know, but I guess I'll put a badge on it. Make you feel better. Already got a gun.
Yeah. Well, doesn't everybody in
Yes,
South Carolina?
they do. Yeah, everybody can carry one now.
How soon will it be before I start seeing those?
I don't know. It's very interesting because a lot of people are like, man, I can conceal carry now. And I said, no,
No.
that ain't what the law says.
No.
You can open carry.
Open carry.
So it will be interesting. I've seen some folks carrying in other states.
Right, sure.
But it's going to be interesting in South Carolina. I don't know. To me, having the ability to open carry is one thing. Open carrying is another.
Is another.
I prefer conceal carry
I-
because, to me, surprise is a good thing.
Sure. Yeah, it is.
But and to me, if somebody's going to commit a crime and they don't have a gun and I've got a gun on my side, maybe they decide to take that gun when I'm not looking or something to
Yeah,
that
sure,
effect.
yeah.
I mean, there's always that risk that you're running into.
Right.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to say the least, Jack.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be something where it's completely blown out of proportion, but I know people that are freaked out by the sight of a gun. I'm not.
Yeah,
I am concealed carry.
right,
If I was packing right now, you wouldn't know it.
right.
So, I mean, surprise.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise, surprise. It's like my dog. I walk into the bank, people are surprised. I mean, he's big. He's a baby, and he loves everybody, but they like, man, that's a big old dog right there. They think he's going to get them. It's kind of like you got a big old gun. Everybody wants to. Talking with a lawyer, a friend of mine today said that he's another lawyer he knows. I think he's in the upstate. He was carrying around an RPG, which is considered a long gun, and therefore he can open carry it. So that is a little bit overkill, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, to each his own.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not intimidated by it.
No, I mean, get an old RPG. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Let's check it out. Let's go play some combat. Rat
Right.
patrol.
Well, there's a lot of things that you look at a little bit differently when you move, especially, say, anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon line. And it can be something as simple as just moving from North Carolina to South Carolina
Right.
or Georgia to South Carolina. You can actually talk to someone down at the treasurer's office maybe and get a reduction once you become a resident. Once Horry County becomes your primary home, you can save even more on what you think are low taxes, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically the process is when, again, you talk about domicile, you talk about residency and those kind of things. To me, in the way I've always learned it is the domicile is when I make the decision in my mind to move somewhere without the intention to go back. So if I live in New York, New Jersey, or wherever up north, and I have property there, and I decide to move to South Carolina, but I still have property, house, apartment, condo, co-op, whatever it is, there, it's hard to say that I'm making my decision to move here and never move back. But when you move here and you don't have anything there, I have a couple that came to see me recently. They bought a house here in 21. There's a list of things on the treasurer's website for the primary resident. Everything defaults to the 6% second home assessment, if you will. And then you have to prove to them by doing things like change your driver's license to South Carolina, register to vote in South Carolina, register your cars in South Carolina, file your tax returns into the South Carolina system.
Right.
Although that is, you may live here but earn income in another state by virtue of being there, and maybe you go back, but technically this is your prime.
Now we're back on remote work.
Exactly. That's correct. You can work from here, but you're getting paid up there, so it's kind of you might have to file a tax return in New York, New Jersey, and in South Carolina. Or if you got pension is where your primary residence is. That would be a South Carolina return. And then if you actually worked in a northern state, then that income would be there, and so you would file a tax return there. So you might end up filing 2 tax returns for statewide versus federal. Obviously,
Well, you said automatically it's at 6%.
yes,
And that's key because I had lived in Horry County for a few years and purchased a home, and about 2 years went by. I think it's maybe almost going on the 3rd year when I was like going, oh, I need to go down there because I was being taxed at the 6%.
Yep.
Now, this may not be happening today, but if you've been paying 6% and you've been a resident the whole time, retroactively, they gave me some of my money back.
Yeah, and they'll do that now too. I think it's 2, maybe 3 years that they'll go back and do that.
I was surprised by that. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, and I'll tell you where it ultimately happens, and it's amazing, is that where couple creates a trust for estate planning purposes, they transfer their property from their own personal name to their trust. That triggers this reset back to 6%. And if you don't pay attention to it, you'll get your tax bill and it'll be assessed at 6%. There will be no credit from the Department of Revenue for being a South Carolina resident with a tax rebate or any of that stuff. And your taxes are going to go from maybe $3,000 or $4,000 to $25,000. And believe me, when you get that tax bill, there's sticker shock.
Is there a senior citizens discount on property taxes in this state?
Yes, and I think that I don't know exactly what that number is, but it's the homestead exemption, and I think it's over 65. I'll have to check that.
Yeah, that'd be something to look in on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But they can help you at the treasurer's office very well. They're friendly. Call them, have a conversation with them. And a lot of information on their website. You can look at it and see what's there, and they'll help you walk through the process.
Yeah, if you call and you get voicemail,
yep,
they're going to call you back within the day.
Yep,
most of the time,
for sure.
It'll be first thing the next morning if they don't get to it. Now they may not solve your problem, but they will call you back and let you know they're working on it.
Now, if you walk in there the first week in October when tax bills come out, or at the end of the month, end of the year, when everybody's trying to get their taxes paid, or the first couple of weeks where taxes are getting paid, it's going to take a little while because those are the busy times. It's like going to the DMV at the end of the month. Everybody's trying to get their tags paid so they don't have to pay a fine or something like that, and but it ends up being pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're still building homes.
Yes, they are.
You said last week it was a buyer's market.
Yes.
Is it now?
Well, it's trending that way. Of course, they just approved a subdivision here in Conway for 3,700 new homes, which is out on 701 South. Going to be at the Pitch Landing area, and if you know where that is, it's going to be
that's at least 10,000 more people. I mean, because some of those people have kids, 10 to 12,000 new people just there,
and it's going to double the size of the city of Conway, which is going to prove to be an interesting challenge for everybody.
Wow!
And what are you going to do with all those people and the infrastructure that they need to get to and from work, to and from the hospital, to and from hurricane evacuation? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's tricky. I take Highway 90 now. I didn't used to drive that road, but I do now. And
well, back in the day, it wouldn't have made sense to take 90 because you'd have had to go all the way up to Red Bluff to hang a left and come down 90.
Yeah.
But they've created some great opportunities.
But man, those people that have lived there.
Yeah.
I mean, this has happened in the last 10 years. We're not going way far back.
Oh yeah.
And they're just trying to pull out to get to work, and they have to sit and sit and sit.
Yeah. Well, I live like that. I'm over by the university, and they put in these traffic circles.
Oh,
well, and they put one there.
You like them?
I like a traffic circle, but the problem is that people don't know how to use a traffic circle. It's kind of like the people that don't know what a yield sign is.
Oh,
and I don't want to get on that soapbox, but here's the issue. They put one at Technology Boulevard and William Finlayson and where Singleton Ridge Road goes through there.
Okay.
And so they put that there to relieve that intersection, if you will. Well, my neighborhood is one block up from that.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't have a traffic circle, but it's also turning into the hospital. So now I'm sitting, so where I used to sit waiting for the traffic around that area, now I'm sitting at my road waiting for everybody to clear, going
Okay.
into the hospital, coming in, turning left into our neighborhood. And quite frankly, they've just created less of a traffic problem at the traffic circle, more of a traffic problem where I live. Do I want a light there? No. Do I want, something else to happen? Could they have done it differently? You go down to Charleston, and they've got these traffic circles that is not real. It's like a circle block. I mean, it could be a quarter of a mile across. You've seen some of those?
I was in Charleston last week, yeah, and I think I saw an interstate highway down there.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I don't know. Yeah, I know, right? How did that work? I was we were in Columbia last week. I had a trial up there in probate court, and they're doing some additional construction on the 2378 kind of 26 area. They're replacing and doing away with what they call malfunction junction, which is a very interesting intersection, if you will. I mean, there have been some of the biggest crashes ever there. It's one of those 26 comes in and brings you into a lane that if you're not going north on 20 or east on 20, you've got to fight your way back into the left lane.
And that's called what? Malfunction junction?
Malfunction
Wow,
junction.
I think that's where City Hall in Myrtle Beach is located.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I live there. I can say it. And right now, I've got the official Cabal hand salute. We'll be back with more Real Martial Law after this.
If you're buying or selling real estate and you need an attorney, contact Marshall Biddle at the Biddle Law Firm. Marshall's been involved in the purchase and sale of real estate for more than 30 years, and his family's been in the real estate development business for more than a century. In addition to being an attorney, Marshall is also a licensed real estate agent here in South Carolina. The Biddle Law Firm is located in historic downtown Conway and online at biddlelawfirm.net.
Hey, we're back. I was about to say we're in the short rows, but you'd have to be a farm boy from the Carolinas to even understand what that means.
Yeah, but I sent a lawyer that's not from Conway an email, and I said, we'll be in the short rows, and he fired something back. He's like, what the heck does the short rows mean? And and so I had to go through the explanation on that.
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, I know exactly what the short rows mean, and anyway, we're getting close.
Yeah,
but,
they were either the ones closest to the highway or closest to the woods.
Yep, or toward the corner.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Tobacco.
Yes.
I
Short
was out
rows.
there in it, man. It didn't have to be.
Yeah.
That's the thing that my dad said, son, why are you don't have to be in a tobacco field.
Yeah, me too. I did it a summer, and I made a lot of money. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot. I don't know if I made a lot of money or not.
Well, again, when the rate was, I don't know, I was a child, so I shouldn't have been making anything. And what was it, $25 a day? So
Yeah.
It was something nominal. But for a kid that would work 5 days a week and you get $125, I mean, that's a lot of money to
sure.
a 13, 14-year-old. I mean, I bought a bike that cost $125.
Good night.
But I'd saved up for it for a minute,
Okay.
and took best care of that bike and than I ever did.
Well, you going to take care of your customers?
Yes.
The same way you took care of that bicycle?
Absolutely.
How can people find you?
We are www.biddlelawfirm.net.
BiddleLawFirm.net.
Yep.
Okay.
And, of course, you can send us questions at realmarshallaw.com. Probably have a link from that to the website, but you can call us at the office 903-1600. Of course, that's 843-903-1600. Nobody ever used area codes back in my
sure.
day, but, our website, you can see our new address. We've moved our location from 3rd Avenue over to Beatty Street.
Okay.
But, always got the phone to answer, so we'll be around.
Okay. How you like the new office?
I'm still getting around, still working a little bit out of boxes. I put things off the desk into a box, and now I'm working out of the box onto the desk. So I'm a little stressed, but I'm doing okay.
I hope you treat that office better than you're treating mine. You're wreaking havoc in here. I saw
For
the whole.
sure.
I don't know what just happened. I just
Yeah, I
saw
don't
saw
either.
the whole wall move.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw a chair break a while ago.
I thought it was an earthquake.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah. We're backing up in here, Newt. We're backing up.
Question. So-
Marshall, good seeing you
Yes,
again.
sir. Hey, I appreciate you. Y'all have a great Sunday afternoon.
Have a great week. That wraps it up for this edition of Real Martial Law.
Real Martial Law is a paid program. The views expressed on this show are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of the ownership or management of this broadcast station.